You're
We're gonna get loud.
okay, so I'm gonna see you online.
Yeah.
No introduction required. You're just gonna go with it. You've
I
got
might tell them.
great
who I am.
audience here. I see some people from Oshawa as well that are joining us. So we'll
We can't let them in here.
Yeah.
We got some infiltrate. Yeah, absolutely. Energy's always welcome, right? KW Energy is always welcome. Who's from KW Energy? Yeah. Who's from KW Advantage? I don't know. Who's from KW Experience? Oh, look, okay, you guys can see me. Good, awesome. Joby, can you check the chat for me? Will you do that for me?
Yes, Angela, I would love
So if
to.
there's any questions, please just put them in the chat for me if you're not actually in the room and asking them live. Hi, everybody. I'm Angela Wood. Nice to meet you all. Hi, everybody. I'm Angela Wood. I am your KW New Homes Territory Leader, Regional Director for KW New Homes for Canada. They keep changing the names because we're trying to find the right fit. So, regional leaders, all new construction for, across Canada. And beautiful thing is Toronto. We lead the world in land development. Anybody know the new magazine called Urban Land Institute? If you don't, subscribe, it's free to subscribe. This is an international research company that keeps track of all land development. And in Canada, across Canada, every single year, we sell 300,000 plus homes not on MLS. Pretty freaking cool, right? And somebody sells them. Maybe 10 more people. But we could actually increase our sales. Is there anyone in the room who, maybe I should introduce myself. Would that be good? Did I do that already? Angela Wood, KW New Homes did that. My background is 20 years in real estate. I can actually say I was your former team leader in this office many years ago. So we started this office, which is great. So it's good to be back home. That's how I feel. And well, we actually like all over Ontario. Like Oshawa is going out from the beach. Can everybody drive and use the train? I walked today. I just moved back to the upper beaches, so happy to be back. So let's start with questions. And if I start with you guys don't mean anything about it, it's just a habit. Instead of saying or you guys. So what would you like to get into today? You came with some questions. What do you want to learn before you leave? Yes, Daniel.
So I am interested in making pre-construction one of my pillars, and I have in the last little while taught pre-construction, and I want to know how to get on to the IPRC. Like, how do I get a block of units in condos?
Allocation.
Yeah, so that I can sell it to my client base.
All right. First thing I'm going to say about this, MREI. This for all of your clients, anyone who says, I want to invest. Get that PDF in their hands right away. Make them read it. You won't work with them till they read it. And then you can work with them because investors, they need to have a criteria. You might have like 100 properties to look at because pre-construction is very heavily investor centric because you're investing your time and your money for 4 or 5 years because before it actually comes to fruition. And recently it's taken, well, does anybody know the L Tower in Toronto? Yeah. It's above the stone wall. It was designed as an L. It turned out to be built as an I. So it was supposed to be an L with a art corridor over top of the Sony Performing Center, right? Sony Performing Arts Center. And it was going to be a showcase for artists, a gallery, it was going to be really, but then the city pulled out. It took 12 years to finish that building and to get paid, right? But it was worth it. And then they had to do something revolutionary with the crane to build it because there was no room except up. There's no room to put a crane out this way. So the crane had to be built through to build it. So little different things like that. With pre-construction, 100% there's delays. If your clients or yourselves think there aren't, like if that's just an imaginary thing, it always is delayed no matter what. So we'll make contingencies to make sure that when it's delayed, we know what to do. Okay, MREI. What else do you guys want to know today? Or is that it? What's your first name? Kiki? Kiki. K-I-K-I? Come on, I got it right.
I guess you're not familiar with Greg's song.
I am.
Okay.
I just had to make sure.
Yeah, what would you like?
So because interest rates are a hot topic today, the pre-construction usually doesn't kick in until the end. What would be the dialogue around that? I can tell you this, zero.
Right.
There's zero talk. Investors have no concern about interest
Okay.
rates.
Okay.
Yeah, it's up, you can mention it and anything that we do. Like we know sellers, you know, buyers, it's the same objection, same thing. So if we know the conversations to have with them, we used to call them scripts, right? Now the conversations, it's the same conversations, right? So if we prepare proper information for feedback when, you know, when they talk about investing and things like that, then we can help them. Look at that. I sometimes get sidetracked, I get excited about questions. So, okay, that was, remind me again, what was the question?
So really, I guess, what happy dialogue script can we, I guess?
For interest rates, and I answered the question, and nobody asked, so that. Thank you.
We're just picking up sound for the.
Thank you. Interest rate conversation. It's a good conversation anyways, because everybody's talking about interest rates, no matter whether they're buying pre-construction or not. So, great point. Anybody else? What else do we want to get into? Hi, how are you?
Hi, very good.
Nice to
Angela.
meet you again today. I'm gonna shake your
Oh,
hand,
yeah,
but
nice to
I'm
see you.
getting, so I'm trying to, you know, hold back to make the other, so if someone approaches me, then I can, but I forget to do that.
Just like,
Yeah.
I was gonna ask about like, just, if you could help with like the marketing campaigns, like email campaigns, the website,
Those are my
that,
favorite.
the website that looks like you're from the builder.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I myself get stuck on those all the time. This isn't the builder.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And our clients, oh my gosh, our clients do the same thing. I signed up on 6,000 websites. Great. Great. So you have 6,000 realtors emailing you everything and texting you, and I don't remember your phone number. So yeah, so you want to be the one to help them through all that stuff too. So yeah, so that's good. What, okay, Sam, one more time, Question?
The marketing campaign.
marketing campaign.
For,
I had a company called Insider Condo Club. And when you signed up as a realtor for that, I don't know if anybody's familiar, maybe you might know about that. But we had something called Insider Condo Club, and when you signed up as a realtor, all of the marketing pieces that we did, we gave to you to help us sell the developers condos. And it was just duplicated from ours. So it was really easy. And with Command, we can do that kind of stuff. So KW New Homes is a division that you can actually become a member of, just like KW Luxury. And it is $199 a month to join the community. And there's two components to it, two education courses. One is the Builder Realtor Developer Education Program. And that teaches you how to work with buyers, you want to buy from developers. And then the second part is the certification part, which will teach you how to work for the developer directly as their salespeople. And I've done both sides. So it is, they're both fun, both good, depending on what you want to do and how many you want to sell. But yeah, marketing campaigns. And there's a lot of websites for realtors. Everybody's selling pre-construction, trying anyway. The craziest thing about pre-construction is I started pre-construction 15 years ago when nobody was doing it. And we got really good, my sales team, we got really, really good at one-day sales events. And our biggest sales event was 365 sales in one day. I can't even speak, like, it was 3 o'clock in the morning we left. It was right beside, actually was in Scott Street, right beside the K on Esplanade. That's where we sold it. And I had friends from the bar industry that I get hired for that event because I needed people just to work the photocopier, just press print, photocopy all the driver's license, right? Because I had 3 copies of 365 contracts. You know, I even had actors working, I had everybody and anybody who would come and help me, right? My friend used to run the Cadillac Lounge. So you got to help me run the back office. She'd never sold any real estate, doesn't have anything to do with real estate. All she knew was just the contracts would come in and she'd keep track of them. That's it. Only one job. And that's the key. Yeah.
Somebody in the chat just asked if you could repeat the training, the name of the training.
Sure. The training is B as in builder, developer, realtor education program. And that is through, if you go to KW New Homes, And it's actually, there's a community section in our command and our connect as well. Awesome. Thank you for that. And I'll keep track of everything. So yeah, so the 365 sales in one day, that was amazing. And I thought, wow, we blew this out. This is amazing. If we could do this again, now that we know how to do it. But we did a lot of events. We probably did 100 events before that event. Even Baker International, they used to call my sales team because they couldn't sell the remainder units. So what happens after all the allocations and everybody blows their brains out on the VIP and all those allocations, all those people come in and buy those units, everybody moves on to the next project. Well, guess what happens? We sell those units 3 and 4 times over because people rescind. And they rescind, and they rescind, and they rescind. And meanwhile, agents moved on. So there's tons of units left over a week after the VIP. But that's only for this room. Who's not in KW? Okay. So our own little secret. But yeah, that's the thing. I said, well, you know, everybody wants the VIPs and the allocations, but those seriously, the way that happens is if you sell units, right? You don't get allocations if you don't sell them. Developers doesn't want to work with 100 realtors, they want to work with 5. And each of those 5 can get rid of the whole building, or 1 that gets rid of the whole building. And then they would never work with us ever. A couple of years ago, 15 years ago, when I got into this, developers, I had to convince them to pay realtors because they could just open the doors and the traffic would just line up outside, you know, so 4% is not bad. We fight over 2.5% as listing agents, right, for our listings. So and you forget because it pays out in intervals, right? Does anybody know that? You get paid like a certain amount, yeah. And you forget, you know, I used to call my salespeople in January and go, you guys still have to come to work, even though you have 90 closings this year. I mean, they sold them 5 years before, but you forget because you move on, right, to the next one. And it's a great way to do volume. I like doing volume, right? So it's easier to sell 63 condos than show 63 properties, but that's my own opinion. You know, my own opinion. And if you get really good at it, there's no one that can touch you. There's lots of agents trying to do it now, but there's still only 300 units in the building. Just because there's 5,000 agents doesn't mean there's 5,000 more sales, still 300. So the top agents who sell the most units are always going to get the most allocations. But if you call the developer a week later, 10 days after all those resins, there's tons of inventory. Right, plus there's still inventory 2 years later. They're closing these units next year. And let's say you have this past market where we had no listings. Well, we still have no listings, but the listings are sitting. If they, you know, so the market, is that how you guys are experiencing yourself? They're sitting a little bit longer right now because of the interest rates and all that kind of stuff. Well, pre-construction is an investment. And it only costs you your down payment. We did a condo called Playground. Playground had, we did that one for our Insider Condo Club. If you bought 2 units, you could do 2 units for 15% down, 10% on one and 5% on the other. And it didn't matter which one you did, 10 on. So the 10 you did on the studios and the 5 you did on the 2 bedrooms. Literally, people turned over their money within a few years. And that build, that's all we did. We resold all of it. So when you sell pre-construction from the developer the first time, you can assign it 1 time before it closes, which is another 4%. And then if you sell it because an assignment is not online, it's not advertised, you usually find the buyer to buy it, right? So you keep the whole 4%. Now you got 8%, 4% from the first, 4% from the second. And my goodness, when they want to sell it again, or they want you to rent it out, the second purchaser, that's another transaction. So you could have like 3 or 4 transactions before it even closes. It's kind of fun. And then if you get on the land side, that's even more fun. For me, anyway. Lana? What else? What else do we want to know today?
Hey, Angela.
I'm from Oshawa as well.
No,
Where do I know you from?
TV.
Okay, maybe. Like, why do you look so familiar? Wait a minute.
No one.
20 years, I've been teaching a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, people are a little old here now, including me. It's like, wait a minute. What I didn't need to just point it out, but yeah. Yeah,
Totally
introduce
fine.
yourself now. everyone.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Oh, nice to meet you.
I've been to Oshawa, best chicken wings.
Oh.
I'm
Go. Where?
In Oshawa?
hitting every bar in Oshawa. saying,
Paul, you said right, Paul.
all day.
Fantastic. What else do we want to learn? Anybody else, or am I just, I'm just rolling along?
Somebody said.
Hey, Angela.
Joey.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do have a couple of questions on the chat here.
Go for
One
it.
one from Carolyn of Advantage. Question, how can we best protect our client interests during a shifting market? Any issues or unforeseen events upon closing? How do you cap closing costs?
How do we, what was the last question about closing costs? How do we calculate closing costs?
Yeah, how do you cap closing costs?
That's a simple one. When you communicate with the buyer, the closing caps, every single developer has caps for their developer costs. So you just ask, what are your developer cost caps?
All right, we do have another one from Ashraf of Advantage. What is the best strategy to approach new construction builders?
What's the best approach to new construction projects?
To approach new construction builders.
Fantastic. Every builder will love you if you sell a unit. Everything else, they're deep personalities, right? They don't care about anything else except sales. So if you show them, so that's why I said start with a millionaire investor. If you start with that and you start to pool your resources and your clients, can you hear me okay, by the way?
Okay.
Okay, fantastic. So you can pool your clients, you have all investors. So when a project does launch, you send out your entire database, the one email. They get all the resources from that one email. They have all their questions answered. You send it, you call them to follow up, make sure they got it if they have any questions, and then move on to the next part. And they've read the Millionaire Real Estate Investors, so they know that they're going to put their money in and they're going to lock it in. You know, so there's a lot of objections already handled before because they've already read the Millionaire Real Estate Investor book. So that's helped them a lot to get in the right frame of mind and the right mindset for investing. Because real estate pre-construction is not for the faint of heart. It is treacherous. It's a bloodbath, really. You know, I used to run events for the developer, and I can't even tell you when there's like 600 agents in a room and they all want units. It's like I have like a huge sign on my head. I'm prepared for the worst. Right? You can't believe how aggressive agents can get, right? And they want units for their clients. So, and how pre-construction works is that you never, you pick the best three, and it's kind of like a pool. Like you don't necessarily always get what you want, especially when it's a really popular development. You kind of take your chances and get your best, one of your best three. Right? And sometimes that doesn't even happen. If you get 5,000 worksheets and there's only 300 units to sell, there's still only 300 units to sell, right? So they have to, the developer gets to decide. And how they do that is which agents have sold the most for them. Those agents are going to get everything that they want for their clients. So when those allocations, after everybody blows their brains out on the VIP, when you do all the cleanup afterwards, they'll love you for that. So that's how you'll make your success. But the other way is take the Builder Developer Realtor course and learn how to present with your buyers. And the first thing is to go to buzzbuzzhomes.com. And that's where all the developments are, and they're working on worldwide. 10 years ago, I helped this guy start that company, which was great because we had no database for pre-construction. So it's a great place to go. And you just put in your area, you can put in demographics, you can put in the developments, and those are how you get directly to the builder, the developers, the marketing companies, because when you look online, you'll find 1,000 realtor sites for the same development, and you don't know if they're developer. You want to talk directly to the developer. Does that help? Answer those questions? Awesome. Okay, anything else? Any other questions?
Yes, Angela, we do have another one from Zoom.
Sure.
Yep, we have one from Stefan of KW Energy. He said, what guide did you mention at the start that you send to investors before you sit down with them?
The Millionaire Real Estate Investor book, the PDF. Your team leader we'll be able to get that copy for you. I just send it out by email, just anybody who inquires about pre-construction. It sets up the mindset so that they're in the right frame of mind to be able to have a high level conversation about investment. And because I don't want any of my clients, if they're hesitant, because there's a 10-day rescind on everything condo, not houses. Houses, there is no rescind period. I don't know if you knew that or not. So there's a 10-day rescind. The Ontario government made it so that there has to be a rescind on condos, but there is no, if you buy a pre-construction home, you bought it, it's done. There's no rescind on that. So know that, and they don't necessarily tell you that. Right. You want to get with, so the builder, developer, realtor education course, the first part, it is coming out in different modules. There's 2 modules that drop every month that you can learn through the division, through the KW New Homes division. And that will help you to, and it has all of the things, just like your buyer presentation for KW, for resale. You know, your buyer questionnaires, you want to find out exactly why and why they're investing, because there's not different options, right? You can invest in Oshawa for new construction, or you can invest in London, Ontario. You can invest in student condos. You can invest in commercial real estate, right? So it's all really just a cool part to network with those types of people that are interested in making money from real estate, because that's what we talk about all the time. And our databases alone, people are having those conversations with their friends and their relatives. This pre-construction stuff is really, and especially in Toronto, like cranes are everywhere. It's because, you know, because we're navigating the construction. What is going up again? Another condo, right? So kind of fun. What else are we missing? Any other questions, thoughts? Do I have some?
Any good lawyer?
Good lawyers? There's some spells, FELs. Trying to remember, John. Yeah, that's my go-to.
Some lawyer can steer my life.
Yeah. And they're all good for their own, like, you're right, each one of them has their own kind of purpose. You know, there's some really good ones, and I don't mind, like, I bring up the objections way before they even bring them up. It's the same objections all the time, you know. And the thing with pre-construction is that they invest very little money to over the long haul, right? And over the time, no matter what happens, if the recession hits, if the interest rate, if the building, the government, everything goes to crap, the world blows up, we can do whatever we need to do with that real estate. We can sell it, we can assign it, we can rent it, we can, whatever we need to do with it, we have options, right? So that's what I try to tell them, even if it doesn't close on time. And with pre-construction, it's actually a benefit if it doesn't close on time, right? Because the equity is just, that's the most amount of equity built is from the builder to the first resale, right? Yeah. It's amazing when you see your clients who have never invested before and never thought about it when they make $300,000 cash in their bank in a flipping year. 1 year and never before invested. But he read that book, the Millionaire Investor book, inside and out, made pages, manual.
So the next question, how can you defer taxes on that 300,000 people?
Ooh, let me tell you, there is
Incorporate, can you?
this is the other thing. If you own 3 investment properties, or you buy 3 and more than 2 investment properties in a year, you are a professional investor, according to REIT. Okay, so and according to, so as soon as you buy properties for investment purposes, not to live in, and we have to, so that's what we sign our FINTRAC, right? All those forms that we do, you know, and the developers, when you purchase a new construction, the developer will send you a form as a purchaser to say, are you purchasing this as an investment? Or if you're purchasing this as a primary residence to live in? And those 2 questions are really important because a few years ago, the government came to the developers and said, we're going to charge all of you the HST on every single unit, unless you disclose how that tax is going to be paid. So they send a letter to all the purchasers saying, and you don't know as a purchaser, if you don't have somebody to advise you, I'm going to do this as an investment, right? So you say, instead of an investment, I'm not saying do one or the other, just there's a certain way to do it, but have the tax professionals with you so that on your journey, you're doing this. And there's corporations you can set up. There's holding companies. Does anyone know Dylan Suter? Dylan Suter has more than 500 properties. right? My team, we have less than 200, but we're working on it, right? But that's, and you do, and it's fractional ownership. You own different parts of it, but yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm
go for it.
asking if your team owns 200 properties. You must, you have a holding company
Yes.
and you all have a share in that.
Every property has one.
Every property has a holding company and your group is under the umbrella of a corporation or a holding company itself, or-
A little bit of both. A little bit of
It's too
both.
complicated for me.
Yeah,
It's
it's, and it's not my forte, believe me, I know,
You're good at
I think- yes, and I'm telling you, you will seek out and I will refer, believe me, it's a little bit of a struggle, right? To try and find the right people who know the right stuff, so it's usually by referral, like you'll find, if you come across somebody like Dylan, hey, you got 500, how did you do that? Well, here's a guy, here, call, so that's how, at least at KWS, that's how we work. Right?
So you have a special lawyer to set up the holding company?
Yes. Yeah. And that's the other thing too, part of your team, part of your new construction team, these are the people that are gonna help your clients as well. Because if they're building generational wealth, like, which is what we talk about all the time, we want our clients to do that. So we need to help them to be able to do that properly and to protect their families. I just had a friend of mine transfer his entire wealth portfolio to his grandchildren and not pay one single red cent in tax. Right, his entire portfolio. So it can be done as long as you're talking to people who know what they're supposed to be doing. Right, there's, yeah. So
He
talk-
was the former president of the country.
Maybe. I did recently spend some time in the Cayman Islands, but
Okay,
I
that's
won't
good.
tell you the rest of the story.
No,
There's
that's
only
good.
30,000 people on that island, but there's 600,000 companies registered. I know, right? Crazy. Mhm. Believe me, there's a way. And you have to, it's smart, right? Just keep seeking better and better and better professionals, right? And Dylan Tudor, reach out to him. Hey, I was in a class with Angela, what on pre-construction? I heard you have a bunch of properties. He does lots of classes, so just look out for him because he will teach a great class too. What else? This today was gonna be like, I did have something I was trying, hopefully everybody's getting something out of it. Yeah, good information so far, okay.
Is there anything, I think you kind of answered it, the advantage of being someone who has tons of allocations, who's sold a lot with the company. Have you ever found any kind of situation, because it's, I guess, more normal than say like an offer night where that people offer more than what's on the paper or?
Yeah, there's always bonuses.
I think so, maybe.
Like there's incentive, lots of builder incentives. And when the market shifts and it turns where less people are lined up outside or less people coming in, they really want to do incentives. And you can pretty much ask for anything. So what are they gonna say? Yes or no? Right? So just ask.
And I think I was also asking on the opposite side, like buyers, do buyers ever go over and above, just the basics on the piece of paper if it's a hot market for selling?
Yes, yes, they do. And they get excited too, right? They go into the showroom, it's fancy. Years ago, 15 years ago, the showrooms, everything was an upgrade. Now nothing's upgraded. Everything's already upgraded. There's no upgrades. Unless it's a Yorkville or something like that, or a really luxe, property where you can upgrade to something way better. But yeah, a lot of the times everything's already upgraded. So it's just pick the shades. What we haven't had this problem in Canada, but in the States, a lot of problems with storage and a lot of problems with getting supplies and things like that. Like it's been a really tough. So you might not end up with the exact same fridges, like nothing's ever mentioned, right? About what types of fridges, what type of stoves. This is kind of what the floors are going to look like. This is the aesthetic, but it's 5 years later that my product's not even available, right? So lots of little things like that. But yeah, there's lots of incentives, and you can ask, especially now. Developers, and know this, and I'll the graphic maybe for the next class I'll do the 12-story building basically, or a 15 to 20-story building. And the graphic shows you how many millions of dollars the builder has spent before he even gets approval, sells anything. Like he spent millions of dollars on the migration of birds. Making sure that when they put that building up, there's no birds, that they're gonna, and the sunlight. I know where the sunlight comes in from every single direction, so the environmental, like everything is so expensive. And the government, we keep adding more things, right? So they just added $60,000 a door, guess who pays that?
When it's a brokerage at the builder office, that's the vendor's price.
Say it one more time.
When it's a brokerage agent, other like bakers or whatever institution. How you negotiate with the builders? Do you need to, do you rely on those salespeople to pass your verbal offer to them?
100%.
Or you have them write the contract and then scratch and you put their number? How you do it in writing? Or
I never, even in resale, I never scratch anything on a contract ever. I always verbally.
Yeah.
And then when we decide, then we write it out nicely. There is
So
just
you-
a
so you
mental,
rely on them to actually
I
go
do.
back
You negotiate everything before you print anything on the contract. Because nobody wants to rewrite that and nobody wants to scratch this and scratch that. And that's a good, I don't know, for me, it changed everything when I, because it's so confusing, the back and forth, the back and forth, and this initial, and that. Maybe it's not necessarily what you should be doing, maybe that's why. I was making a turn and if, I never said this. But yeah, I want to negotiate everything and then we put the final negotiate, put it on terms. We put those terms in a clean contract and everybody gets it, right? It's an agreement to purchase, not a disagreement, right? It's an agreement. So we come to an agreement, then we put it on paper. With the developer contracts, there hasn't been negotiation. There's no negotiation previously till this market, because now there's nobody lining up, right? So they need help with their sales. So on BuzzBuzz Homes right now, if anybody's got their computer, if you want to pull up Toronto, GTA, on the search bar, and it'll come up and it'll tell you how many pre-construction developments are for sale right now in the GTA. Last time I checked, it was 953. Yeah, ton. And when I say land development, Toronto leads land development. We have the most crane. We're doing the most amount of pre-construction, believe it or not. And now with Rob Ford's new, let's push development through. That'll be great because that's what's been holding us up the most. We cannot house 400,000 people coming to this city in the next couple of years. We have no room. There's no room. Right, so we got to build faster. Okay, what else?
You have a good one behind me there. I'm still like, it was, what's the most common, maybe you can read it for me.
Joey?
Joby.
Yep, yes, we do have a couple questions once again, Angela. One from Mike, well, from Tanya. What are the most common things that are negotiable when it comes to pre-construction?
Developer caps are the capped fee on what the city gets paid on each door or on each condo or home that's built. So you can actually have those fees capped at a certain amount. And that goes as an amendment to your agreement of purchase. You could also usually, storage lockers are something that developers don't mind throwing in. Parking spots, definitely not. That, and most parking spots, you don't get a parking spot in most buildings unless you buy a 2-bedroom. I think every building in Ontario has to have electric power supply for cars as well, so we don't have to worry about that. Most popular, and what else? That there's not really too much you can negotiate with the developer, right? Their terms are already, and they just don't mind, they'll just wait for the next buyer. That's how it's been anyway, so far. Does that help, Joby?
Yep, all good, Angela. We do have another one from Mike of Kennable Experience. What is the expected commission breakdown payout if a development takes over a year to complete? Is there a way to protect your commission should the developer decide to not move forward with a project after units have been sold?
There is no way to protect our commission. Absolutely no way. Even if they build it and you've done everything and they've done everything, they could decide to say to you, and it's happened to me, and I'm still fighting for $1 million in commission from a developer because over the HST. You can't even, it's just the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen or heard. But there's no, that's why it's not for the faint of heart. This is a serious business, and it takes some courage some days, because they might, so for instance, a developer, because RICO doesn't protect us on new construction, neither does TREB. They actually are in competition with new construction. So they do the opposite to help people with new construction. So I've been owed a lot of money from the developers, and they can just say, hey, we're not paying you. There's nothing that says they have to pay us out in 10 days like resale. Right? So you have to kind of take your chances. But believe me, the developers want to pay their salespeople ultimately, because otherwise we won't sell for them again. We'll just move on and sell for the other 1,000 developers that are out there. There's so many developers. So yeah, there isn't a way to protect yourself other than having a really good relationship. But even having a good relationship, I've had a developer tell me they would pay me 20 cents on the dollar that they owed me, and I took it. You know, because I didn't want to wait any longer. Right? So yeah, you have to expect sometimes that may happen, but you want to make sure you work with the right developers. There's 10,000 developers out there or more, and work with the reputable ones that have a lot to lose if they do stuff like that. And now everybody heard that story about the 2 developers that have reneged on the contracts that are already sold, and now they want $100,000 more. Right? So it's kind of like the old health clubs memberships, right? Where we didn't have any regulations in the 60s and 70s and 80s. And then in the 90s, there was tons of regulations. That's what's going to happen. So we will, because consumers will start to stir up stuff, right? So it's a secret market that nobody knew about until now.
Since you have a lot of experience and in red flag builders,
Do I recommend it?
Red flag.
I don't want to avoid.
I wouldn't. I myself personally, yes. Well, how about as a side conversation? Okay, so I had that the second thing, right? So I had an agent in my office who started a Facebook page for one of the developers' buildings that we started, right? So we sold it from the beginning. They gave us dirt. Developers would bring us dirt. We developed the whole thing. He started a Facebook group. And then what happened was the Facebook group got kind of nasty about the developer. And so I got the call from the developer, and the developer was quite mad. And remember, I make 4%, right, off of the developer. So if it sells out at 60 million, we make 4% off that as a brokerage, right? So, or as the team that works the developer. So I had a lot at stake. The developer called me and said, I can't believe one of your agents has actually got a Facebook page that is all negative about me. So I had to ask my agent to take down the page because we work for the developer, right? That's more important than him setting up his Facebook page to get some leads out of that. And I got it. I totally understood it from both sides, but I'm not going to lose a $60 million contract for everything. That's a big listing. And that's how I look at it too. I look at working for the developers. It's a listing. It's the same thing. I'm making 4%. It's the same, and that's actually how I do it. I take a listing contract with my brokerage name on it, with the developer's name as the seller, and it paid 4%. It's an ORIA contract, right? So that's how we set it up, and that's how we get paid, right? And it's so simple. Every developer needs a brokerage to sell through because of the FinTrack. And that's the only reason. So it helps me because hey, you don't need somebody to take care of all that. I got great administration staff that can take care of that. You know, so I don't have to worry about it. So all that compliance stuff, all the brokerage stuff that we all hate, they hate. Awesome. Anything else, Joby?
Yeah, we do have a couple once again, Angela. We do have one from Eleni of KW Energy. She said, how do you vet a developer to make sure they can get the shovel on the ground and be as a good recommendation for clients?
I think that is you have to do your research and make sure that you've asked the questions to make sure the developer is on track to get all the approvals so that shovel can get in the ground. Right? Like I wouldn't sell anything that's not site plan approved. We'll just start there. Plan approved. Because it's more treacherous. And you can, but know that you have a 50-50 chance that might not go through. So you accept that. That's the risk, right? So with investors, that's that you have either a high tolerance and you know that's the money you're going to risk and you're okay with that because the payoff is much bigger. So you're okay at risking that. If you lose it, you've known you lost, you're okay. That's why they read the Millionaire Investor book and they have a criteria that they meet and they never veer from it, and it makes my life so much easier. So we're not off doing 1,000 different things, always the same criteria. So we don't veer from it.
Is there anywhere that we can, like, I had a client who said they're just a professional developer, and I knew that there, I did go on a site that's called, see if there was any, called,
Write-ups or anything like
not
that.
even write-ups, but like, not reviews, like, oh, what's it called, when someone, not a lead, but like, yeah, that type of thing. Don't know wherever it moved down, but that was one place. I was curious if there was another place that you would recommend.
Buzzrooms.com, because when you pull up that developer,
Okay.
everything they've developed in Ontario, anywhere actually in the world, they're trying to make it a world global thing. All the developments that they are responsible for and that they've developed may come up. So I usually go into the first ones and I go and I check the resale, right? And I go and I check what's happened to their previous developments and how good they were. And then there's Facebook pages for almost every community. Right? So now if you worked for the developer, you guys can go ahead and do that. I won't ask you to take it down.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it might actually be a good thing. Maybe the developer comment, yeah, Kiki's got that website talking about me. Great, that's a lot of feedback for you. What are you working on now? I had a conversation yesterday with someone in Stockton. Hey, we have heard about you. No. Do you ever want something? No. Okay, great. Let's have a conversation. Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. But that's the thing, right? It's you can add new homes. And I think every team, my goal is to have a new home specialist, because once you take the developer builder course you become a specialist. And you are actually now a KW new home specialist, and you get to put that on all your information. And just like the luxury division, you have a whole asset category of things for the developers, you have things for your buyers, you have checklists and forms and buyer questions and checklists for developer communities, which is great because then you get to know the developer communities and you're adding it to forms that already prompt the questions. You don't even have to think about it. Just follow the forms. It makes it so easy. And then there's great communities. We do 2 masterminds. We do a question and answer for anybody who's interested in KW New Homes. That's the 3rd Thursday of every month. Watch for it like on KW Connect. They send messages. International will send messages. You'll probably, I know there's so much KW stuff. It's like a fire hose. Always something new. I was impressed. We talked about something on Monday on the growth call about the do not call list. And Gary Keller is always famous for taking very complicated things and putting it into a 1-pager so it's very simple for us to understand. Well, the do not call and all of this legislation, all the gazillions of dollars that everybody's doing over in state, they've taken these 3 pages and condensed it into 1 form. That happened on Monday. Within 24 hours of me teaching at night yesterday morning, it was already in my notes. They had already implemented it in 24 hours. You know, so I think new homes, I think people, I was telling Brian, I called a developer in Mexico because my sister and I decided at the beginning of this year, I want a really good life, right? The pandemic changed things. I want to sit in the Caribbean on a beach when I'm not there. I want to make money off it, right? Like that's just the way. And my sister and I, perfect. We'll do that together. We'll fly it together, so it's not all my money, and then or just her money. So I started looking, and I called a development in Mexico, and because the developer doesn't have any salespeople, he answered the phone. And he said, well, and I of course introduced myself. And I said, well, what? KW New Homes Canada. And he said, KW, like I think Keller Williams. I'm like, yes, do you know it? He goes, yeah, I'm from the States. I'm from Texas. Of course I know it. 40,000 acres is developing in Mexico. Wow. Yeah, just by accident. I didn't buy a condo for my sister and I there, but I went to Mexico to go check it out. And let me tell you, every tree that is removed, there is a ceremony, and every tree that is planted, there is a ceremony. There is what they call blue holes and like all this amazing natural stuff, and they don't bulldoze it. They keep the nature and they build around it. I went to a development site and I was standing in like the corridor. It's dirt, right? Because they're building it, construction hazards and all that stuff. And the construction company took it upon themselves to do an entire ceremony on the land before they turned over any of the dirt. There's crystals buried under the ground. There's all kinds of different things in different, I was like so impressed. You know, and when we build here, we do it differently. So I wanted to go and experience, so I did that. I went to the Cayman Islands, I saw the good stuff there. So yeah, I did a little bit, and then, yeah, so I accidentally got into Belize. Now we're selling in Belize. Now that I can tell you about too, that's kind of fun. Keller Williams, New Homes, and Legacy have teamed up, Legacy International. So they are responsible for a lot of Caribbean developments. And we have a new brand called Watermark. So it's a KW brand with Legacy. And we're going to take this to all the Caribbean islands, and it's Watermark because there's an ecological component to it as well. So we've partnered with collaborators who are, so in Belize, we have a turtle hospital. We're going to plant reefs, right? The barrier reef is slowly dying. So we're going to help the barrier reef, and we're planting new reefs. We have a whole sanctuary for sea urchins and turtles and all kinds of things, hospital. And this is where your kids can go and like be a part of the research of the whole ecological saving the ocean. I didn't know that was going to be part of it, but that was really fun. That's the best part of it for me. And that fund, it's called the Azul Fund. You can actually invest for a little as 25 grand. And that is the fund that builds Watermark. So there is a 25% return on your investment.
Can we do that through an RSP?
Great question. Yeah, and that's what I was looking at. I was like, if we have a little bit of money, what do we put it into? You know, and just be a part of like a bigger picture. You know, so that was kind of fun for me. So doing something. Now you have to be careful what you wish for. All right. So now, yeah. So Belize, a little private island. Okay. What else do we want to know about pre-construction? I want to check our time. We got half an hour, 15 minutes. Right. What else do you want to know?
Hey, Angela.
Does it start from the lower floor?
Yeah. Thank you. So the question was, is the closings. So when the building registers from the first floor all the way up to the top floor. So if you bought on the top floor, know that you'll be the last to register, depending on how many, they can do about 12 floors in 6 months. And depending on the team, like a Tridel, they can close out that building pretty quick. So just depending on how quickly they can close out the floors.
What was the longest occupancy?
12 years. That was the L Tower.
12 years.
Yeah.
You would have to pay the rent to the.
Yeah.
Which is.
There was more like 8 years of because once they were coming to the final stages, yeah, it just took a long time to get that building started.
What would you say is the average though, like
4.
4 years?
Right now, we're 5 years.
From the occupancy to closing.
No, from the purchase
Of the.
to the
Okay, what
Close.
was the occupancy?
occupancy, about a year
About a year?
on average. The taller the
That's
building,
been 11 or
Yeah, I was
what?
gonna say.
Yeah.
That's good.
yeah. So occupancy to close is about a year, but like the one tower, that's gonna take 3 years. That's a big building. I know.
Closing.
Yeah, and they probably won't build that building. I don't think they're 80% sold, not even close. Maybe 60% sold max.
What happened behind the scenes? How are the builders, salespeople paid?
Oh,
And-
great question.
And who makes the decision? The salesperson is a manager.
Oh, I love that question. Did everybody hear the question? So if you wanted to work for the developers directly, right? If you wanted to be a salesperson on site, how does that happen? Salespeople are chosen from the marketing company, which is the brokerage that represents. And usually that's the key to representing the developer is your salespeople are the best salespeople. And that's why you got the contract for the listing. Same thing as we do for resale, right? So same thing, we compete against the bakers and the internationals, and we compete for that business. And how that is the same thing. We'll sell it out in a day. Right, and that's kind of our thing, but we got really good at that. But yeah, so when you work for the developer, The developer chooses the marketing company or the brokerage who's going to run the sales and represent the developer, and then the developer has their favorite salespeople. So of my team of 20 that sold 11,000 properties a year, that team of 20, there was always 2 that every developer wanted. And I can't have them in 10 different places, right? So for me, I had Tony go like for a couple weeks, get started, and then Alex would take over, and then slowly and surely.
And do those salespeople get paid on commission?
They do, they get paid commission. There's 2 different ways they get paid. They always get paid directly from the developer through the brokerage because they're licensed. They have to get paid through the brokerage. So the developer pays something called a draw. So you might have $5,000 a month as a draw, but that's your commission on your units. So maybe every unit that you sell, this is only when you work directly for the developer. So every unit you sell, whether it's an agent, a real estate agent that comes in and sells it with their client, or you sell it directly to the public, it's a flat fee. So every unit, let's say it's $500 a unit, or it could be $800 a unit, or $1,000 a unit, right? So just depending on the building, how big or how small. It's 60 units, probably $1,000 a unit. If it's 400 units, it's less. And if you have a junior and a senior salesperson, you have different pay structures there. And it's usually a draw. So once a month or twice a month, you draw from the commissions of the properties you sold to a max of 5,000.
They're paid everything up front, not no closing 5 years later, right?
Yeah, their structure is paid until they leave that site. When they're moved from that site to another site and that site closes, they move on to the next site. And that's the hard thing, like when you work for the developer, and there's lots of really, really great licensed salespeople that only work for developers, they've never done resale. That's my old condo store team, right? Because none of them really sold resale, but we could, you have the entire database for the building you sold out. That's an entire farm area. Right? So if you sold it to 10 clients in, Ajax or something like that, right? Like you had 10 clients that bought in that development because you loved it, and you bought in it. And so they bought in it. And so everybody, but that's how you win your farm area because you already know them. And then they tell everybody, yeah, but it works. Farm areas, it's a great segue to a farm area. And that would be your 5th sale on that pre-construction. Yeah. Yeah, working for the developer, it's not as easy as you think. I used to, a lot of agents would come in, I would interview recruiting agents or talking to agents. And how do we get on a sales site? I've been an agent for 10 years. How do I get on a sales site and just wait for people to come in? Well, you don't realize if you're an agent on a sales site, your only job is to sell. And if no one comes in and you sold nothing, you sold nothing. So the developer's not happy. You're not going to be there very long. You're going to sell nothing. I had one, I talked about this yesterday in Ignite, had one sales center catch on fire. At the end of the day, the developer wanted to know how many sales. Yeah, but the sales center was on fire. How many sales? Like, wasn't there like a fire crew that showed up? Didn't you talk to them about the development that they were putting out? You know what I mean? Like, and they're all D's, very direct, very driven, like emotional at all. How many sales? They'll bring you to tears if they have to.
So what percentage or how does a builder pay total, including their salespeople and the cooperating? It's a 5% listing, it's a 8%.
It's anywhere from 4% or less.
No,
the
listen,
more-
I make 4%, and you are a sales manager with the team at the builder. How much the builder pays your team? You are gonna pay me for?
If you work for the developer,
No. Yes, so how much I wanna know the builder cost, so including the 4% cooperation, how much else they work to you,
it costs the developer to list a property with me, 4%.
plus 4 to me, 8%? No, 4%.
4% total. Out of the 4% total to me, I do all of the marketing. Actually, sometimes I don't even do that. But the cooperating agents don't get paid out of my 4%. The developer pays that separate. I don't pay that.
So you're getting 4% of the whole.
The total build out, I get, it's actually a word, it's total sellout. I get paid 4% on the total sell out. And when I talk to a developer and they don't know the total sellout, I hang up the phone. If you don't know what your actual profit is, I can't work with you. It means there's no money to pay me in the end. I don't know.
What does mean progress of the sellout?
So the listing price is 60 million, let's say. That's what, after all the sales are done, that's what that building made. 60 million gross sales, you got it, not net, gross sales. I get 4% of the gross sale.
Before expense, before anything.
And the builder paid all my expenses.
So the builder,
All it took was emails, it was sent out on sheet.
so the builder is happy when there actually no operating agent coming, that they pay less.
Yeah, they would rather not deal with co-ops at all, period. They would rather just have their sales team sell it, but that's not possible.
They can't.
They don't have the client. But my sales team, when they're on site, they find the clients. That's their only job. That is their only job. You will find the clients. That's why Baker hires us. That's why International hires us.
And they would benefit from doing pay-per-view and. to have-
Yeah, and they get the building sold out. So their job for the developer is done. They can move on to the next project. When we start a project, the only thing we want to do is finish it, sell it, and move on to the next one.
What happens with the last 10, 20 units that are the worst to sell? They
We
don't sell.
wait for people like us to sit in a room and figure out that there's leftover inventory that we can sell to our clients. That leftover inventory is someone's treasure. You know, some of those units that are the hardest to sell are the easiest to rent out. Right, so
But what happens? Will the builder stay there 5 years? No, the builder will close those, will take title to those units, right?
do we,
When the building registers, it is an inventory.
no.
For the parking,
You
extra
might
parking,
have-
extra locker, extra
They have-
units.
When the building registers, there's very little inventory. There shouldn't be any inventory left over.
But what
The
happens to
builder
the
will
inventory?
suck it up and use it as a rental unit.
So they will all take ownership of that.
They'll take ownership of it, yeah. They won't register unless every unit is
And the
transaction.
sales center closes, so it's 95% sold or it's
85%.
85.
And my team, we don't even need a sales center. We can sell it right out of the brokerage. So all of Waterloo student housing by Laurier, we did 9 phases for Stage. We're the first pioneering company to ever do that. And we found the developer by cold calling. I had an agent he lost his RICO license. He was such a great salesperson and he always worked for the developer. He was that guy who just have a conversation with anybody. He was talent, but okay, so here, make some calls, call these people, go find us some land. So we found Daryl Furstein. Daryl Furstein is a college, he was at Laurier, started Commencement Flowers, which is, if you go on any campus in Ontario, flowers are being sold. And he hired students to sell flowers all over campus, called Commencement Flowers. Guys are making a bunch of money. Oh, so let me put that money, it's still in university, right? At Laurier. So he decides to, let me put this money into some land. So he started finding student houses around the university. Well, now he's got this land and that land. Oh, it's connected to this land. 9 phases of condos we did for this guy. And it was a cold call, like, hey, you've got some land. What are you planning on doing with it? Well, I've got some student houses. Well, how about you build a couple buildings with 150 units? 952 units we built. for him. Way different than 5 properties.
And where do you do the cold calls? Like, where do you find them?
Land registry. Yeah, you're just looking for owners that own large property. And I would start with like a nucleus. Like if you want to start in around an area that you want to work in or you have an intimate relationship with. Like if you are in Oshawa, don't bother to go to Etobicoke. You know, I want to go back to Scarborough because that's where I grew up. There's so much news and I know that I know every street backwards and forwards, right? So yeah, and same with Etobicoke. So I could go east or west, but I'm coming in. Heading towards Florida. Go back to our old stomping grounds, man. I think about you on Birchmount. I think nobody knows Birchmount better than right? So yeah, and once you find when you find your niche, just get so darn good and throw everything you possibly can, learn as much as you possibly can, talk to the people you possibly can. What else do we want to know? Anything else? We got 1 minute. I'm here.
Why sometimes cooperation for people is nothing or it's a flat fee or whatever? And it's $0 to $2,000 or $20, but then 20,000.
Developers running out of money.
One moment.
They're running out of money. If a developer can't pay a sales person, we have a problem.
No, not at the end. They don't offer it in the beginning. They they even don't offer it for freehold.
Yeah, no, they don't have to. Freehold developers don't need to offer anything to anybody. They're just,
There's not enough competition for them to.
there's not. Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Like there's tens of thousands of developers. Did anybody look and see how many developments we have at Buzz Buzz? So Buzz Buzz, so there's tens of thousands of developers. Some could be like 4 townhouses or, but yeah, so we're looking out for the, the sellout value. Yeah, so it's
So
just like a.
322 in Toronto, and I think 135 is out.
Can you put GT over Toronto right in there? Yeah. 599
Yeah, it was
new
600.
developments. Yeah, so we lost one development in the last hour. Yeah, so 600, yeah.
And those are coming soon, I mean,
Look, and you see, it'll tell you, so right from the first one on the left, it just gives the list, so there's 599 on Buzz Buzz Homes. And I start with the first one. First one is usually the one who's the most popular. It's just like Google. They pay to get featured and things like that. But as you go down the list, you'll see 2023, 2022. Like they have units still left to sell our clients that are looking for sales when there's no listing. Like during that whole last year was our biggest year because there was no listings, but there was tons of inventory left over. So.
Angela, just a quick question. As a brokerage, would you recommend that if we submit, let's say, to developer, just to get more allocations and more, I guess, weight with the builders? Would you recommend maybe just one person from the brokerage or a few people that
Yeah, if you want to
specialize?
do that,
Yeah.
I'll help you to do that because it's how we show our force. It's not, and force is not the right word. It shows our caliber.
Right,
The caliber that I've seen from Legacy that backs me up with support with all the assets that I need to go to the developer
right.
is better than I've ever seen in my life. And I like, they just came out of nowhere and it takes the right people. Gary Keller, when they partnered and they were looking for a new homes partner, they wanted experience. So 35 years, Legacy's been in the business, and they had a very similar belief system to Keller Williams. So it was a perfect match and just outstanding. Philip Jalupka, he wrote a book and it's amazing. This guy was a Chinook pilot during all kinds of different wars, right? So like that is a serious, job. So yeah, he's who runs KW Homes. Like he's a pretty good leader, so all about leadership. But yeah, so definitely we are better as a collective. And our biggest thing is our network. We have 171,000 agents plus at Keller Williams.
Okay.
And we're a global company.
So
So-
would we submit worksheets under Tail Homes Canada? Is that what you're saying?
Ultimately, that would be great. But no, if you're interested in any allocations now, Sam, you
Right.
just reach out. I'll give you guys my cell phone number. Hopefully you can read that.
I already have it, but thanks.
Yeah, my writing is just like how I talk. Is there anything else? I know it's just a little bit, it's 4 minutes after. I don't want to keep anybody if you don't, but I appreciate you and love you, but I'm still here if you want to talk to me still. Danielle?
If you can touch on the marketing campaign.
Ooh, yeah. So the marketing campaigns, always email. It's always email. And then we send, we call, and we see. Those 3 things. So we send it, then we call them to make sure they got it. And then on the call, we set up the appointment to see them. Okay. And I still use the same thing as 1 of 3 things that's going to happen with every contact that you come across ever. Either you're going to get an appointment, you're going to get an introduction or a referral to someone else, or you're going to strengthen the relationship for next time. I have people that have never bought pre-construction from me, but they're in my database because they refer me to everybody. Right, so I'll take those all day long.
So do you use a certain company or companies that can package that stuff for you?
Command, we've got everything.
We do?
PW Homes division. Yeah, we're really, man, and I think we're the best division. luxury, all that kind of stuff, right? But I love it because I think we're friends here. Like we're doing something that's really good. We're creating housing. You know, like for people to live in. It's so cool. You know, yeah, we're changing lives and generational lives too, because now that's the way our kids are going to be able to imagine now, right? Hey, invest this, invest your money into this. It's going to take 5 years. Then they'll have something to live in. My cousin just did that with the student condos, right? So her little daughter just moved in. She's not little. She's going to college, for goodness sake. And she just moved into the stage stuff that I built a couple of years ago with the developers. I didn't believe me. I'm not the builder, but I helped get the money to build it, right? But when she moved in, it's like, oh, this is so amazing, right? And I get to hear from her perspective now of how that building turned out. Another one that I did, which was on Burlington waterfront, there was 3 different landowners that tried to develop that property for 35 years. And because of the Pan Am Games, we were able to get it through, and it's now built and everything. And what it was is there's a hotel. And so for the Pan Am Games, the city wanted a hotel because they needed more hotels. This is an Oak in Burlington on the waterfront, so far from where the Pan Am Games are. And the hotel in the plans was not going to be built for 4 years after the Pan Am Games. And they approved it. Wow. Yeah, but it's got approved, whatever. I don't know, you know, somebody was with me that day. That's the other thing too, right? Like everything is God-given gift. This is, you know, this is what I do because I asked for it. You know, like I love what I do. So and it gets better all the time. And selling resale was great. I loved that. And you master that and move on to something else. Just keep it going, you know, just find something that you love and your joy. And when you get to help families build wealth and they all benefit, that is the best feeling.
On that note,
Yeah.
leave here, what do you do? How do you start?
Woo! Great question. Buzz Homes.
Just go.
BuzzBuzzHomes.com. Start there. You're from Energy, so you must live in Oshawa, Whitby. Ajax. See, I knew I mentioned Ajax for a reason. I knew it. Ajax has tons of stuff. So on BuzzBuzzHomes, you put in Ajax, you put in Whitby. You're gonna have less. You won't have 599, but that's even better because now you got some specialized. And in those 2 areas, I can guarantee you, I know these developers. So, you know, and look for the ones that have, like the new ones that have sold out, because the best resale, everybody who moves in for themselves as an end user of pre-construction, remember they bought a piece of paper. Everybody's disappointed when they move in. This 600 square foot feels like 400. You know, and that wall, I don't like that wall, I should, you know, so they're disappointed because it's a floor plan, it's not real life, right? And there is things, we try to stick to it as much as we can, we have to, there's things we gotta stick to when you build them, but they're not, it's not what you expected. So the first couple of years, so I would knock those doors, man, those developments that, hey, I just wanted, and I have floor plans. So you can go, hey, do you have an original floor plan for your house? I've got one. So I can give you the tools that you need, you know, to be able to work on those farm areas, you know, because there's going to be people in there that bought from the developer. Hey, what do you love about your house? What do you hate about it? You know, what do you love about the neighborhood? What's not so great about the neighborhood? When they tell you what they don't love, that's their next house. And every seller sells because they have somewhere else to go. Right? So yeah, first 3 years to 5 years of a new development. And that's kind of fun. That way. What else? So that's where I would start. BuzzBuzzHomes, put in your farm areas. And then I would go and meet every single one of the salespeople on those sites. Most sales sites are closed on Fridays. Don't go on a Friday, you'll never find an open door because they work 6 days a week and Friday's the only day off. But go on, you could even do an open house for them if they're up for it, you know? But go in, bring them a cup of coffee or a sandwich or a Tim Hortons card or something and just, hey, I wanted to introduce myself. I'm with KW New Homes. I'm a specialist in new homes now. And yeah.
KW New Homes is like it's a slogan, it's a marketing thing, or it's
It's
a
a
real
vision for
brokerage?
KW.
It's a real brokerage in Toronto, or it's just a marketing.
It is, it's a division for Keller Williams,
It's not
just like KW Luxury, just like KW Commercial.
It's just, yeah, okay.
Yeah. It's a specialty. So KW Commercial, KW New Homes, KW Luxury, KW Land. That's the other one. And land, and what else do we need to do? Oh, sports and entertainment. Yeah, yeah.
Airplanes,
Airplane company, that's exactly.
boats.
Well, that was awesome, you guys. You kept me energized. You kept me going for like an hour or more. So how did we do over
And-
there?
Yes, Angela, before you wrap up the session, we had a great time. And just so you know, our Zoom participants would like to know your cell number and email as well. So if we can chat that and type
Fantastic,
it on a
sure.
chat.
My email is angelawood@kw.com. And my cell number is 289-242-6004. I'm only a text away.
All right, thank you so much, Angela. We do have final questions on the Zoom, if it's okay with you.
Sure.
Yeah, these are pretty interesting questions. One
Oh,
from
good.
Tanya of Advantage. I get a lot of clients wanting to buy pre-construction. How do I refer them to an agent who has their best interest in mind and has access to pre-con releases and specializes in that area? Example, I need someone for Brantford and Durham for freehold pre-con or assignment now, but there doesn't seem to be a straightforward place to go.
There is. There is agents that specialize in assignments. So you just have to know who they are and just be able to reach out to them. They have tons of assignments and they would love to sell it to you and your clients. Because assignments are really tough because we can't market them on the MLS and we're not supposed to market them anywhere. Right? So assignments, we really need cooperating brokers to help us. So yeah, there's tons of Facebook pages for assignments, especially in Toronto. If you want to, I'll give you a name, Lisa Andrews. So my team, we have a whole bunch of assignments right now. And yeah, I would go to Facebook. There's a ton of Facebook pages for assignments. That's where I go.
Hi, Angela, thanks. Tanya here. Thanks for answering that. So I'm on the Facebook pages and I find it a bit overwhelming because there's so much noise in there. I would like to refer this. So can you suggest someone that I could refer this business to? And that way.
You have an assignment listing that you want to refer?
Oh, no. I have clients who are looking to do, get an assignment or a pre-construction,
Yeah.
essentially a new home. And that's not what I specialize in, but I'd like to, still get the business and the referral. So I'd like to refer that out. So, what would you advise?
And you said Tanya, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So you could, if you wanted to learn that side of the business, I could work with you to solidify and to follow that through if you want to learn that side of the business. But if you don't want to take the time and you just want to refer it out and leverage your time, I'm so happy to give you somebody who you
Okay.
can refer to.
Thank you. I got your contact, so maybe I'll reach out to you separately.
Yeah, please do.
Thank
Text me.
you.
I'm only a text away. And then that way we can get your clients the best help.
Okay, thank you, Angela.
Sure.
And another question in the chat, Angela, this is the last one from Rowan of Energy. Angela, if you had to start again from scratch today with all that you know, but without any of your connections or team, what would your steps be after the MREA and the courses?
MREI.
MREI.
Yeah, I would go right there. That is gold because it teaches, like, we're educators. Like, there's so much information out there now. Our job is to disseminate all the information for our clients. And that gets right to the heart of real estate investing. Right? And it speaks for us. We don't, page 89, it's easy for us to be able to look like the specialist when we have backup from Gary Keller. Is that it? Awesome. Thank you, Joby. Thank you, everybody from virtually. Love it. If you need me, you know how to reach me. I'm still here though. You guys can stay. I'm okay. Nice to see you all. Thank you so much for joining me. If you need me, you know how to reach me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.